Hey guys, it's Purav, and I'm here to walk you through the process of using SharePoint Online PowerShell to prevent users from downloading infected files. Now, by default, users can't open, move, copy, or share malicious files that are detected by safe attachments. However, they can download them. Thankfully, this is easily remediated by one line of PowerShell, which we'll walk through in this short video. Firstly, I just want to bring up the QR code for this page so you can scan that and get to this page which details more instructions. Okay, so hopefully you've had a chance to scan that. And also, this is using SharePoint Online PowerShell. So if you're not familiar with that, there is this link here, which will take you to this page. And again, I'll bring up the QR code image. And this will basically get you started with SharePoint Online Management Shell. Now, thankfully, I already have this preloaded. So I'll walk through some of the prerequisites here. So firstly, you need to install the SharePoint Online PowerShell module. And you can apply a couple of flags at the end of this, depending on your scenario. So for example, -force will help you if you have any other versions installed which might conflict. And you can also use the -scope current user to install it for your current user profile. That way you don't need admin rights, which is helpful. You then need to import the module to your session, which you can do with number 2 here. And because I'm using PowerShell 7, I need to have an additional flag of -use Windows PowerShell. If you're using PowerShell 5, you don't need this flag. Next, we need to define a variable called $URL, which is basically the SharePoint Admin Center URL of your tenant, right? And you would replace your tenant name with your actual tenant name. The permissions needed here are either Entra SharePoint Admin from a least privilege perspective, or of course Entra Global Admin works as well. Now there's no more least privilege role than SharePoint Admin because this is a setting that affects your whole tenant, and so it needs a high level of privilege to do so. Once you've got those in place, you can basically connect to SharePoint Online PowerShell using connect-SPO service -URL $URL, which is the variable we defined earlier. But I've already done this. So what I want to show you is if you run the get-SPO tenant command, pipe fl disallow infected file download, this will show you the value of this property. So in this case, it's false. And because it's false, this is the typical default config of most tenants, whereby this would actually allow the download of malicious files, which isn't great, right? But thankfully, as we mentioned earlier, we can easily remediate this through one line of PowerShell, which is set-SPO tenant -disallow infected file download $true. Okay, so that's been applied. And now if we run the previous command of the get-SPO tenant, you can see the value is also true. But now this brings up an interesting question, right? Some of you may be wondering, well, what if someone later flips this back to false? Is it possible? Well, let's find out. Yep, it is indeed possible. And if I run the get-SPO again, you can see false. So now it brings up a concern because you'd be like, well, can I monitor and detect this? And can I alert on this? So let's jump over to the Purview portal. So for those unfamiliar, this is purview.microsoft.com, which is a stack of various solutions. If you click on solutions here and go to audit, this is how you get to the audit search, right? And here you basically want to search for the operation of disallow infected file download. I've put a star here because it will catch the enabled as well as the disabled operations. So firstly, this is the event for it being enabled. And these are all the fields that are present within the unified audit log entry. Some of these have been redacted, like the IP address and user ID and so on. But if we scroll through, we get an idea of the fields, right? So you can see when it occurred, you can see the IP address, you can see the operation, you can see some details about the app, you can get the tenant ID, you get the record type, workload, right? And some of these again are repeating like the IP. But if you go right to the bottom, you'll see the most important two properties here, which is event data and application display name. So event data, as you can see, it shows disallow infected file download true, which makes sense because this is what we configured when we enabled the setting, right? And you can see the application display name is SharePoint Online Management Shell, which makes sense because we did it in SharePoint Online PowerShell. Conversely, the disablement, right? This is the operation and the audit event for that. Disallow infected file download disabled. Again, most of the fields are going to be the same. Apart from right at the bottom, the event data now shows us false. So great, this is how you can detect and monitor for it. Can you alert on it? Well, if you're using Defender XDR and you have the advanced hunting, you have the Cloud App Events table configured to have M365 activities flowing into it, yes, you can. Well, you can build a query like this, right? So Cloud App Events where timestamp would be within the range that you know these events occurred, where the action type will be one of the two that we specified before, like the operations. I'm basically passing out the raw event data column because that's a JSON field. And then I'm projecting certain fields here, like creation time, action type, workload, application, and event data, right? And you can see some of these here. on the right hand side. Okay, but you can also add other fields. For example, you can add your user ID, you can add your client IP. I've just shortened this because of brevity and privacy, but you can add those fields. And then if you want to create a custom detection rule, you can add timestamp and report ID, which will let you create a detection rule. So what will happen is that an alert will fire when this behavior is matched. So that's it. That's been how to enable this feature and also a bit on auditing this feature. Hope you enjoyed watching. Take care.